Monster Jam 2022 schedule announcement is brought to you by UNOH. Turn your passion into a career.
I'm Wayne, Avengers Racing. The 2021 season has been incredible, and it's not over yet.
The 2021 Monster Jam season has been action-packed and is coming to a close. But the 2022 Monster Jam season is right around the corner.
Favorite moment from the 2021 Monster Jam season has got to be Tom Meents and Max D. Fire flying that truck across Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. I cannot wait until he's back at Monster Jam World Finals in Orlando and going for that 13th championship.
I cannot wait for the 2022 Monster Jam season. World Finals 20 champs for title defense starts now.
Welcome back to the 2022 Monster Jam schedule announcement presented by BKT. Now, as we mentioned before, it's Monster Jam's 30th anniversary, but it's also the 40th anniversary of Gravedigger. We've seen a lot of epic trucks over the years, but Leslie, none more iconic or famous than the legendary Gravedigger.
Please welcome the icon, Gravedigger's Dennis Anderson.
I got to tell you guys, man, this whole thing for the last 40 years was never a plan. It just happened. I took a bunch of stuff laying in the boneyard, put these big combine tractor tires on a truck, and created this mud truck that's really known today as a mega truck.
His life was dedicated to these trucks, to racing, competing, and traveling around the country.
And a lot of our childhood memories are always so crazy to think back on. My dad had a Gravedigger street truck. He wanted to drive it everywhere. We go to get pizza, here goes the Gravedigger street truck, doing a burnout, being a madman.
Way back then, he was always the guy, he was the only guy. He was the one that was wrenching on the truck. He was the one that was crashing the truck, winning in the truck, breaking the truck. I think that's where my dad got his passion from. It's just because he was eat, breathe, sleep, Gravedigger all the time.
My favorite part of driving the trucks was being the show-off and being the hero. I wanted to wow the crowd. I may not have ran the longest out there, but you could bet one thing. If they were going to waste any film, they didn't waste it on me.
Adam came out of nowhere, young age. He's still, to this date, the youngest world champion. He started in a certain position in Monster Jam where the caliber was here, and he jumped in here.
There is pressure that people don't even realize, and I wasn't sure if Adam was going to be able to take it. And I'm going to tell you, man, once he got confidence, he was better at it than I was, and he was one hell of a driver.
Kristen Anderson with her first stadium freestyle win.
My little sister has come along and just turned everything for a loop. She's the pretty girl, the sweet girl that's driving the bad boy truck, and it brings in a whole nother world.
Gravedigger is the most iconic truck in Monster Jam. When they wanted me to get behind the wheel and really see what I had, I was nervous.
She's out there, she has no fear. And my favorite part is I feel like she proves people wrong. She's got the skill and the talent and the reckless abandon to show all the boys what's up.
You know, when you look at the brand and how it has grown, that name has done so much for me, from curtains to bed sheets to now on NASCAR. It's just unbelievable.
It's pretty obvious in 40 years it's done nothing but get bigger. As a father, I definitely hope my son follows in my footsteps, and I hope that he's going to be the one continuing on the Gravedigger legacy for another 40 years.
I hope that Gravedigger is something that people can love and, you know, be fans of for generations upon generations. But I just hope that I never get to see it end in my lifetime.
Gravedigger's been around for 40 years, longer than I have. And to see how it's affected other motorsports, other sports in general, and they strive to have that. But nobody can give that. It's not something that you can just create. It's got to be natural. None of us can be Dennis Anderson. We can all be a little bit of Gravedigger.
Every big win and every success along the way in the last 40 years, I've always thanked my fans, and I thank them for every nut and bolt of my truck and every shingle on my roof, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Now, Scott, I know that being around Monster Jam for the past 15 years myself, there's nothing that gets crowds more exciting than hearing that Gravedigger is in the building. And next season, every teamed Gravedigger driver will showcase a new 40th anniversary paint scheme on their ride. And Monster Jam World Finals 21 will celebrate 40 years of Gravedigger with a special encore on Sunday night.
And everyone everywhere will get a chance to see the black and green wrecking machine, as Team Gravedigger is slated to have a driver and a truck on every tour. Now, some of the best places to see that new 40th anniversary paint scheme in action, close and personal, is in the arena. So right now, let's take a look at the drivers who will compete on Arena Championship Series East as we roll on with the 2022 Monster Jam Arena Tour Series preview presented by UNOH.
So starting off in Arena Championship Series East, Brandon Vincent will represent Team Gravedigger. I'm really pumped and excited to see Cody Saucier back. Man, that kid has got a lot of skill for sure. Brianna Mahan will be in Whiplash, and Bernard Light will be in a new ride this year in Megalodon.
And Chad Tingler coming back in Stone Crusher. And you know, we say that seat time is everything. Chad Tingler, one of the longest tenured drivers in Monster Jam. Now we have 3 Monster Jam trucks that are on this tour without a driver yet. So first, let's talk about Ice Cream Man and FTI Torque. Now those are both J.R. McNeil-owned trucks. And then sliding over, you have a Hooked, which is a Steve Sims truck. So both JR and Steve are 2 of the most well-respected owners in Monster Jam. So I'm sure the drivers they select will be phenomenal on this series.
And you've got to give him credit for choosing Chad Tingler. He's kind of my one to watch on this tour. He has more experience in arenas than any other driver on the tour, and he knows the little tips and tricks and what it takes to really make a crowd get up on their feet, and that's going to help him with fan scoring.
Well, sometimes experience and seat time doesn't always get you the win, but a guy that has a little bit of both, he's got that young superstar excitement and the seat time to back it up, is Brandon Vincent, driver of Gravedigger. When he came back into Monster Jam about midway through 2021, he came in with a vengeance and had one of the better racing records in Monster Jam. I think at one point he won 20 out of 23 races. I don't see how he is not the favorite here.
You know, what's really cool about this situation, Scott, is the fact that both of those drivers, Brandon Vincent and Cody Saucier, they were technicians for Monster Jam, and they slowly worked their way up the ladder all the way to that seat, and they're both title contenders on this tour. I'm excited to see what they have in store.
And the East Series will kick things off in North Charleston, South Carolina, and then move up the East Coast to some historic Monster Jam cities like Worcester, Massachusetts, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Louisville, Kentucky, Albany, New York, and then my favorite, Evansville, Indiana. That's actually where I hosted my very first Monster Jam.
I want to talk about the Carolinas here because I think it's going to be crucial in determining who gets the automatic bid to World Finals. And we start in North Charleston, South Carolina. As you mentioned, we have Greensboro, North Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina. We all know that North Carolina, South Carolina, that is Gravedigger country and Ric Flair country, but for this show, it's Gravedigger country. And Brandon Vincent, of course, lives there as well, so there is a huge hometown advantage for Gravedigger. We know that the fans vote at judgesown.com, and you know, in the past, judging has been a little speculative sometimes, Colt, when it comes to, you know, the voting. So it could be a huge factor knowing that there are 3 Carolina shows in this thing, and not that Brandon Vincent wouldn't earn it any other way, but it just could give him an edge up there. And now, Colt, I've fallen in love this summer with these Monster Jam arenas after spending most of my career in stadiums. You know, it's a smaller atmosphere, but the energy absolutely electric. When you pack a smaller group of fans in a smaller space, you just get more noise. So talk about who you think is going to come out of this series here in the East and make it to Monster Jam World Finals.
You know, I have to agree with you when you say North Carolina is Gravedigger country, and it might be good for Brandon Vincent, but I'm going to have to go with my man Cody Saucier. A lot of people don't realize he was actually one of the first guys to pioneer the stop beat, which has led to what we see today as the skills challenge, a lot of the moonwalks and stuff like that. So if Cody can capitalize on that and keep moving forward, I feel like he's going to run away with this championship because there's such a small floor, but if he can add that flair and that new stuff, Cody's got it in the bag. But the one person you need to keep your eye on is Brianna Mahan, Whiplash. She also went to stadiums the last couple of years. She's really performed really well and at the top level, so she's going to go hard. She's going to be one to watch.
Arena Championship Series East has some big talent, but we aren't going to stop there, guys, as we have 3 exciting arena tours next season that are covering almost every major city in the U.S. But let's reveal who'll be driving on the West Series.
Now, you talk about big talent, and a female driver that has a lot of big talent, which led to a championship, is our reigning World Finals freestyle champion, Lindsay Reed in Scooby-Doo. And we have another World Finals champion in Armando Castro in El Toro Loco, and Tristan England returning to Earthshaker. So the 3-time Triple Threat Series champion going back to arenas in Earthshaker. And we said there would be a Gravedigger truck on every tour, and that is an absolute promise. We just don't have a driver announced yet, so keep checking back to monsterjam.com for updates as to who will pilot the Gravedigger for Arena Championship Series West.
And West will also include 2 trucks from Team Throttle Monster, one being Wrecking Machine, the other Jurassic Attack, driven by Dave Olfert. We saw him in Salt Lake City. He was just phenomenal in that truck, and I'm excited to see him back. Then we'll also add the husband-wife team of Travis Mowry driving Extreme Attitude and his wife, Kaylin Miguez, driving Jailbird.
You know, the husband and wife dynamic, could lead to some awkward conversations on the ride to the next city, depending on how the events go. So, Travis, very young kid, Kaylin as well. I know they're a huge family, but Travis has a little spark to him sometimes. And he talks about his relationship with his father-in-law, Darren Miguez, and his wife, Kaylin Miguez. But I want to talk about Tristan England and the return to Earthshaker. When he came back is midway through 2021 and ended up taking over Megalodon for Adam Anderson, just came back in such an impressive way, started putting together competition wins, started winning event championships. And I know after talking to him, one thing he wanted was to come back to Earthshaker. Now he has that. So when I look at this lineup, I think he has to be the favorite as a 3-time Triple Threat Series champion, now back in the truck that he made famous.
I have to totally agree with you on that, Scott, and that's why he's my pick to win this series. We talked about Lindsay Reed being the past World Finals champion. She did, no doubt, have a great run at that World Finals, but the thing about this is a season-long tour. You have to have a great run each and every event, and I don't think Lindsay's going to quite be up to the task, Leslie. I think that Tristan England's going to be the one to go out there and put it on show after show.
The Arena Championship Series West will kick off in Salt Lake City, and it is a small but mighty arena and a great place to head out on the road. Then they'll head up to Tacoma, Washington, down to Sacramento, Fargo, North Dakota, Nampa, Idaho, Fresno, Des Moines, Moline, and I'm excited to see Colorado Springs on here.
And Green Bay, Wisconsin at the tail end of that series, a home of the Green Bay Packers, a home of champions, so to speak, which that event being right before World Finals, that could be where we crown the champion on this tour. But I am circling Wichita, Kansas. I've said it before, I'm going to circle with my finger. In Trust Bank Arena, I had a chance to go there in 2021 this year and host some of the events there. A phenomenal town, an incredible atmosphere at the arena, some of the best funnel cakes I've ever had. It is a Monster Jam city, and you were going to want to go there.